Okay, in this video I want to cover your setup, which is your stance, your posture, and then ball position um, for each club in your bag, basically. So first what I want you to do is we're going to start off with your shoulders, your feet about shoulder width apart, and I like to have the toes turned out a little bit. This gives you more range of motion in the knees and the hips. So don't keep them pointed straight forward. I want them turned out a little bit. My front foot is going to be turned out slightly more than my back foot. Okay, so feet about shoulder width apart. Now, when I get into that position, I simply bend at the waist, and I want to bend at the waist probably about 25 or 30 degrees if I have any kind of a short iron in my hand or on up to a mid iron. The longer the club, the taller I might stand. Okay, so I bend at the waist, and I try to keep my low back as straight as possible, but if that causes you pain or discomfort, then don't, it's okay to have it slightly rounded, but we want to avoid a very rounded back altogether. We want to try and keep it as straight as possible, because one key fundamental in ball striking is maintaining our spine angle as best as possible through the swing. Okay, so bend at the waist, and then slight bend of the knees. When you bend the knees, turn them in slightly toward each other, and now you're in a nice athletic position, like you're playing shortstop or you're guarding somebody on the basketball court. We don't want the knees turned out that way. Turn slightly inward. Now once you're in that position, just let the arms drop, hang naturally right under your shoulders. That is where you would grip the golf club. So work on that setup when you're doing some of those other drills without a golf club in your hand. You need to get in the setup, and the ball drill that I show in another video, you want to apply this setup to that. Now that I've got the club in my hand, I let the arms hang naturally under my shoulders. I want my chin up. I don't want it tucked. I don't want it way up here, somewhere in between. Just let the arms hang naturally. They're relatively straight. Also notice that triangle formed by my arms, and the club is right in front of my body. Now, as far as ball position goes, starting with a wedge on up through your middle irons, you want it basically, if I have a level lie, I want the ball right in the middle of my stance. I want my hands even with the ball. We don't want them too far ahead, because that takes loft off the club, and we don't want them behind because that adds loft. Okay? Now, you then want to get your feet, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, and your eyes all parallel to your target line. So it looks something like that. From that side, and then from this side. Now, you start with the ball position from the middle, and then you gradually work it forward on up to the driver. With the irons, we want to catch the ball before our swing bottoms out, and then turf afterwards. With the driver, we want to catch the ball slightly on our upswing, so we can increase the launch angle and get the ball in the air better. Now, as far as your weight distribution goes, with a short iron, you might have your weight a little bit more towards your front foot. Gradually, the longer the club gets, you want to move it back to more neutral position where the weight's 50-50 distributed. I want the weight distributed also right behind the balls of the feet. I don't want you on your heels. I don't want you out on your toes. If you're on the heels, the tendency is that your upper body will be too tall, and you're going to pull the club too far inside on the takeaway. If you're bent over too much and you're out on your toes, you might pick the club straight up that way. Also, if you're on your heels to start, at impact, you're probably going to have to rock over onto your toes. If you're out on your toes to start, you're probably going to have to rock back onto your heels at impact. So the setup is very crucial. So remember all those fundamental issues with the setup that I've just mentioned. So that's your ball position, your alignment, and your weight distribution. And if you can master the setup before you even get out to the driving range, then you have one less thing you need to focus on when you're practicing. So master those fundamentals and you'll be much better off. Now, one last thought. With the driver in my hands, and this is a little trick, you want to try and get your upper body angled a little bit away from the target and a little bit more weight loaded into your right side. That will allow you to create more momentum off of your back foot and catch that ball more on the upswing and allow that shoulder angle that you created at address to get that launch angle a little bit higher. We want a nice high launch angle with the driver since it has no loft on it to begin with. So keep those thoughts in mind as far as your setup and your posture, and you'll definitely be on your way to better ball striking, and we'll see you in the next video.